Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Jonathan Burris. And I'm happy to be here, and I wish I'd brought my binoculars because you're a long ways down. And these glasses don't work. But I want to start off by saying that this is a particular honor and privilege for me to be invited to participate in a democratic process like this on the 205th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. And thank you for that invitation. As I understand it, the purpose of this legislative committee is to search for the truth of the matter as it concerns implementation of the legislatively created MNsure healthcare insurance marketplace. I believe there were some authors of that legislation in the room today. It seems especially appropriate on this particular day that I honor the committee members' efforts with one of President Lincoln's not-so-well-known quotations. He said, "I am a firm believer in the people. If given the truth, they can be depended upon to meet any national crisis. The great point is to bring them the real facts." And I'm hoping that that's what you folks are doing today, and I appreciate your efforts. Again, thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members, for this opportunity to tell my story concerning my experience in using the MNsure marketplace. And here it is. I've operated a small business in Minnesota since 1985. I'm a sole practitioner lawyer, currently focusing my practice on life and estate planning. I've purchased, paid for health insurance from 4 or 5 companies during that 25-plus years. In every case, the outlay for premiums was and is the second biggest chunk of the monthly nut I have to crack to keep my business afloat, enable me to provide valuable legal services to my clients. That chunk was working its way into the biggest chunk category in 2015, when I went back, or 2013, when I went back into the market to search for more affordable health insurance tailored to my particular needs as a, quote, cow's tail baby boomer. That's and an end quote. That's, my mother called me the cow's tail, so and I'm definitely a baby boomer, so I thought that worked. Anyway, last fall I attempted to enter the MNsure marketplace online. My expectations were low because I had been reading all of the negative press about it. And in retrospect, I didn't try very hard to understand the process because I believed I was doomed to fail. Also, I didn't really understand that MNsure was a marketplace for health insurance. I thought it may be health insurance itself. That was my own clouded understanding. In November, I was discussing my fruitless experience with another sole practitioner lawyer, and he informed me that part of the program included trained, quote, navigators, end quote, who could assist health insurance shoppers in obtaining insurance which could fit their particular needs, and he recommended that I schedule a shopping session with the Minnesota AIDS Project navigators, which I did. I met with the MAP navigator one morning in mid-December with my Blue Cross Blue Shield policy renewal deadline looming in January 1st. She spent a couple hours with me discussing the goods and bads of the policy I had with BCBS, what my present health care needs were, all the while creating an account for me, which she occasionally attempted to submit to MNsure online. Those attempts failed in the first couple of tries. She explained that a variety of technical difficulties caused the site to be down for periods of time, but she used the facts I provided to her to devise another strategy for submitting it to MNsure and receiving a substantive response. Her strategy worked. I was able to obtain a new policy that was much more affordable than the one I had. The premium amount was about the same, but the policy coverages for preventive care, the deductible, co-pays, medication for a chronic condition were very substantially better, and it was to be effective on January 1st, 2013, so I would not have any gap in coverage. Well, I said I better try this. So in January, I had my annual physical with my longtime family doctor. All was well. He declared me fundamentally healthy, which I thought was rather outrageous for a guy that's really conservative in his assessments. And once again, he prescribed the very expensive medication to treat my chronic condition. Medication I've been purchasing for years through a Canadian pharmacy, because my local pharmacy had to charge me hundreds of dollars more. Under my new policy, 80% of the cost of the medication at my local pharmacy was covered by Health Partners. I am now a much happier camper and am extremely glad that MNsure was there to help me in my, quote, pursuit of happiness, end quote. The end. Respectfully submitted, Jonathan Burris. Thank you.
Jonathan, thank you for coming and telling your story. It is good to hear stories of people who have had a positive experience and gotten to the marketplace that we were working to create. There's a lot of stories of folks who have struggled. Any questions of members?
I do have one quick one.
Is it, Representative Atkins.
And Mr. Burris, I apologize if you said this. I was actually talking with Mr. Klopik briefly, but you said in your written testimony that your policy you found it much more affordable, I think is what you described it as. Did you actually say how much more affordable, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, there are so many different pieces to it that, you know, it's not just premium. That's what I learned. You know, we all focus on that premium payment and making the nut, you know, on a monthly level. And actually, in the Blue Cross policy I had, it was a quarterly premium payment, and obviously much bigger. But so it was the nuances that made it more affordable. Like, okay, it went to monthly. There was coverage for a lot of things that otherwise weren't paid for by my other policy, my previous policy. So that's why, no, I don't have a number I can give you, but after working with the navigator, it became clear that doing these comparisons of things that were necessary for my particular situation.
I got it. So it's, Mr. Chair, Mr. Burris, sounds like, so when you add all of the components together, and I know you're making pharmacy choices about buying out of Canada and so forth, but when you add all the pieces together, your policy was actually more affordable and all the various payments were more affordable after versus before? Right.
The coverage. I'm looking for the coverage. Because when I'm going to be 61 on Friday, and we're all there's the gap for 4 years before I'm eligible for Medicare, and my friends are dropping like flies, it seems like. So I don't want to lose my home and so on. So that's the cost on a day-to-day basis isn't as serious as, to me, as what good medical care, and I know where to get that. We have a lot of that available in Minnesota, and Health Partners happens to be in a network partner for where I get my treatment from this longtime doctor and that sort of thing. So that all was another thing that worked.
Representative Atkins.
And just one final question. By the way, happy Valentine's Day and happy birthday on Friday.
Thank you.
Any advice for other small business people that might be in if there's, I'm sure there's lots of folks at home watching this legislative hearing. Do you have any advice for other small business owners?
Mr. Burris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, keep your monthly nut to a minimum, and considering that health care costs and premiums for insurance are such a significant part of that, shop well in your health insurance.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions of members? Thank you.
Thank you.